thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Darren Zier, and this is the Coaches Show. Along with me, as always, and for weeks to come, is head coach of the Hastings College Broncos, Ross Ailes, and assistant coach Paul Merkowitz. Coach, off of a great season last year, obviously the questions would be recruiting-wise, how you were able to do through the summer.
Well, Darren, we needed to fill a couple holes. Number one, at I-back, we lost our top 3 I-backs to graduation, and a couple of them left school. So that was probably our first concern. I thought we did a good job bringing a couple players in, local players that have gone elsewhere and now come back to Hastings. Travis Susi from St. Cecilia High School ended up being our starting tailback after walking on to the University of Nebraska. And Bo Benkowski, who went down to Lincoln to play baseball, is now back at our place. So that was probably the major concern that we looked at in recruiting this year, was to fill the I-back spot.
Okay. After recruiting-wise, maybe what were some expectations through the summer, going into two-a-days after you saw what you got and what you had to work with this season?
I think our expectations were fairly high. We have 7 starters coming back on both sides of the ball. We have our kicker and punter back and one of our very good returners. The problem is everybody tries to repeat what you did last year, and every team is completely different. You have different chemistry, you have different work ethic, you have different leaders. So we lost some very good seniors that are going to be hard to replace, but I think we have some young kids that have now been in the program for 2 or 3 years. I think they'll be able to step it up and play.
How would you say the players are reacting to coming off the last season, and what are the expectations among the team?
I think they're pretty high. I've been a little bit disappointed in some of our work ethics and some of our practice during two-a-day camp. I wish we could stay focused maybe a little bit longer. I don't know if that'll hurt us or not. I think it did a little bit last Saturday against the University of Sioux Falls, which you'll see. But if we could put a whole week of practice, the whole week together, I think on Saturday we'll be fine.
Okay. You just said something about two-a-days there. Maybe you can comment a little more on some of the new recruits come in. What did you see out of them?
Well, besides a couple guys that we mentioned, there are maybe 1 or 2 young players that will have a shot at getting some playing time. I know we got an awful good defensive back out of Millard North High School, Sam Selsley, who's made the travel squad. And the good thing about our program right now, not very many freshmen are going to be able to play for us for a couple of years, and that means that we keep them in the program. We have good retention, and by the time they get to be juniors and seniors, it's their program. So it's more the kids that are entering their junior year. It's time for them really to step it up and get it done.
Okay. Well, Hastings College went on to Sioux Falls University this last week. Coach, why don't you talk about that a little? Last year, you were playing a number 2 team, and as you guys were not even ranked at that time, I don't remember. But the tables have turned a little bit now, and you guys are ahead of them in the rankings. How does that change how you go into this game as opposed to last year?
Darren, you're right. The shoe is definitely on the other foot going into this game. We were fortunate to upset them last year. Like you said, they were the number 2 team in the country. Sioux Falls won the national championship in 1996. A great football program. Last year, they ended up 5th in the country. So a team that year in and year out is going to be in the top 5 or top 10. This year, because they lost some key kids to graduation, I think they were preseason rated 14, and we were 6 going in. So I think they had a little bit extra motivation. But we knew that it's just going to be a dogfight the entire football game, as it was. It wasn't a make or break game. We didn't want to say, hey guys, if you win this football game, it's going to be a cakewalk the rest of the year. But we also wanted to say, if you lose this game, it's not the end of the season. It's still a non-conference game, and our focus will always be on the conference opponents.
Okay, well, with that said, let's go ahead and go into the first half highlights.
We're playing at the University of Sioux Falls. Actually, Sioux Falls does not have a field on campus, so they're playing at O'Gorman High School. It's a very nice field. We had quite a bit of rain the night before, and the field really held up well. We were glad to see that. Ryan Carlson, the senior, kicking off for us to open up the season. And Ryan did a good job for us all afternoon long. He did a good job kicking the ball here. Did a good job with his punting. Ryan Carr, backup strong safety, was in on that tackle. Sioux Falls wanted to establish a running game to start with. We did a lot of movement up front. They ran a trap play on the inside. Danny Williams and Lance Bailey in on the tackle. One of the things about Sioux Falls, they have a great bootleg game. They'll give you a run fake, pin the tight end down, and then release him at the end, as you saw in the second play. We did a little bit more pressure on the perimeter, which at halftime here we'll show you, Darren. And I think it got their quarterback into a little bit of quandary because we had not shown that before. We ended up doing a decent job. I don't remember if it was 3 and out or not, but if so, they only got 1 first down, and we turned the ball over to our offense. It was Jeremy Wilhelm, who did a nice job returning for us.
the offensive end of the ball, as we were a year ago, and as we're probably always going to be, we want to get the running game started. And here you'll see a little something different that we didn't do a year ago with David Lewis. Travis being a little bit quicker, trying to get him to the outside a little bit more. And then here out of our three-step game, just it's a blitz route for us, and we do a pretty good job of picking it up. And Josh does a good job of finding Brad Levine. He gets a little help from Mark downfield and gets us down just near the 10-yard line. We're about the 11. I think we're at the 11, and we're running speed option here. Got the ball in Miller's hands and letting him go ahead and create on the outside a little bit. They had a tough time really adjusting to the option game that we had implemented for them. And we used that early as we went right down the field and scored. At this point, pretty happy with the way things have started. Got, one or two big plays, ran the ball pretty solid, never really in any bad shape. Here you see Ryan Carlson putting the PAT through, and we're up 7-0, feeling pretty good that the scheme that we brought with us was going to work.
That was a crucial offensive series for us, Darren. I mean, we were able to drive the football down, get points on the board, and I think it really elevated the play of our defense. Danny Williams had a tremendous game, especially in the first half. You'll see him on a couple plays. There's the second play where he scraped on a bootleg play to get the offense good field position again.
Again, we're starting on the other side of the 50, and we are just running the same type of an option scheme. They're having a tough time adjusting to it, and we can get Josh outside. Here, we're running draw. We're in a third and longer type situation. Not really picked up the way we want. Travis really doing a good job with his athletic ability, getting us first down. Here again, running toss again, get into the outside in a situation where you definitely don't have to cover everybody up and put yourself in a pretty good situation. Here, field goal after a penalty kind of slows us down. We bang it through and get up 10-0.
Good lead again. Anytime you beat a caliber team like Sioux Falls and to start with the 10-0 lead, that really helped our young kids, realize what it's like to play in a college football game. They say got a little wet. Ryan Carlson slipping after he made the kickoff. A little bit of a breakdown in special teams, so we didn't quite stay in our lanes. We had one clear miss to Sean Fine, makes a nice tackle, gets the ball out, but that's a good return for Sioux Falls. They get into their A set, which is their two tight end, one back set, start throwing the little dink pass downfield, which again, our defensive philosophy, for those that have seen us play, we're going to give up that route 90% of the time. Just make sure we come up and make the tackle at 5 yards and make sure it's not that big a gain. The defensive tackle on the left here, Doug Taverdi, number 70, makes a fine play on an ISO play coming on the inside. Doug is from Wahoo Newman. He's one of the, we talked about, this is his third year in the program, and it's time for him to produce, and he's really been playing well for us. Probably the key of the game coming up here. You watch the corner down tight, down here at the bottom, playing bump man on the wide receiver. Josh Reynolds, a senior out of Lexington, Nebraska, played the out cut beautifully. The receiver adjusted to an out and up, and Josh picked one up and went back all the way for a touchdown. Not often to get an opportunity to score defensively, and that was a key play for, I think, Josh. Josh has always been a very steady player. You could always count on him to make tackles, be in the right position, but he's not been great at breaking on the football. And for him to make that play, and one you'll see later on, I think is going to really elevate his play. There's one of the freshmen I was talking about, Sam Selsley, number 19. Here's some outside pressure, which again I'll show you here in a little bit. Ryan Carr slips, and that's why his man ends up getting open. They they want to go a little bit off tackle. Danny Williams with a nice play, similar type of play to what our offense tries to run. Sioux Falls, besides their bootleg, is also known for their screen game. Fantastic screen game, a lot of different options off of their screen. Todd Kelly, junior college transfer defensive lineman, makes a nice play. Here comes our outside pressure again. Jake Stutzman, along with some others, blitzing on the outside. We did run a lot of blitz in the second and third quarters, and for the most part, they worked well. They did beat us a couple times in man coverage. Another key play of the game. Boy, if we harp on something, it's how important the punt team is. A punt team can lose a game for you, and there's a center snapping it over the punter's head. Wisely, I think the punter punted it out of bounds, or kicked it out of bounds, which is a penalty, but obviously we declined the penalty, took the 2 points, and made them kick off to us at the 20-yard line.
Tough return situation for us, running kickoff return off of a punt, and I think our guys do a good job in terms of changing their depth. We wanted to put the ball near the 50-yard line. Coming after a big play, we try to get up top to Mark, and they had him covered pretty well. Josh threw a pretty good ball, let him go ahead and play jump ball, and go up and get the ball. Here again, just an adjustment that we made. They kind of backed off, worried about the deeper throw, and we took them inside with a good ball by Miller. Here, a long track with Travis Soucy, and here, I think as the year goes on, we're going to step through that and do a better job of getting ourselves free and walking into the end zone. But there we get tripped up by the corner. Run a sprint out play, isolation with Mark Porter, and you put that ball on the outside for him. 9 times out of 10, he's going to catch it and score. Here you go with Carlson again with the PAT, and again, we think we're in pretty good shape, but we got a long way to go, a lot of ball game.
25 zip with 8:56 left in the second quarter. You kind of think we're going to walk away with it, and it just doesn't happen. We're playing too good of a team. Here's an example of the bootleg. The Sioux Falls runs well. Mark Herbeck sniffed that out, did a good job in his man coverage. They're going to run an isolation play to the strong side up on top of your screen here in a minute, and we're actually slanting that direction, so they end up running to where we're aligned. Sometimes you guess right, most of the time, though, I guess wrong. So that ends up being a good one for us. Here you go back to a little bit of bootleg by the University of Sioux Falls again. They hit their play side tight end, the tight end down here at the bottom, and that sometimes you lose track of that guy because he'll pin on the inside, delay for a couple counts, and then release late. And again, Sioux Falls does that very, very well. They were a little bit concerned about our pressure, so they rolled people out. When we scraped a linebacker, they hit a kid flat, and then we missed a tackle. So they're starting to take advantage of some of the things that we weren't doing very soundly. There's our outside pressure. Andrew Doty coming out on the outside, making a nice sack, along with Phil Willie, Jim Jones, and some other defensive linemen in there. That was the key sack for us, got our offensive ball back.
See, I think here, this is the first time you're going to see some mental breakdowns that we have offensively. We're just not throwing the ball on time in terms of some read routes, and you get a sack there. Here, I think you're going to see a fumble. We're fortunate here that they jumped off sides. We wind up with the ball back. But things that hadn't happened all first half long, really just kind of all in one drive, things are just kind of falling apart on us. The next play we run here is the third down play, and we run a draw. We sprint out here and pick ourselves up a first down, keeping the sticks moving. Here's the draw play on second and long, and we pick up the first down, and downfield you'll see here Mark here just not using enough common sense right there, where we just kind of let him go, and we call for a clip. Now we wind up going back. Now we're punting for the first time all day, and I think it was just really us, ourselves, just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. With 5 minutes to go, had plenty of time to go down and score and try to pad that lead. Just didn't get it done.
And then Sioux Falls also offensively makes some great adjustments. There's a backside guard pulling on a counter play, and something that we had not seen before. It took us a while to adjust to that. I think we see it a little bit later on in the highlight tape. Here, Doug Taverdi again did a fine job playing from the defensive tackle spot. Doug hasn't played a lot, but he has played for us for the last 2 years. He's a mainstay in our defensive line now. As I said, I guessed right that one time, certainly guessed wrong here. We're bringing both of our tackles outside for pass rush, and they hit us on a draw inside, and that's just a bad call by me, not putting our kids in the right position. Then we try the blitz again, and Sioux Falls reads it. They adjust. Instead of the out that Reynolds picked up, they ran an out and up, and Frank Jalper just happened to come underneath and play the out, and they happened to get us on a long play there, and that ended up really costing us. They got a lot of momentum because of that touchdown. Our failure on offense to control the clock at the end of the second half, and then their ability to put the ball in the end zone.
Okay, so you guys go up 25-7 in the first half. Not too bad off the start. Now's a part of our show. We go to a chalk talk. Coach Elgey, you're going to take us through a defensive setup.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do, Darren, that we usually don't do very much of is pressure this quarterback. We wanted to make sure that we put some pressure on. We felt they had some young quarterbacks that they may not be able to handle it very well. Traditionally, we have always brought backers from the inside here and kept contained with our defensive linemen. We changed that up a little bit and put our outside backers. What I have just drawn up here is a one-back set that on the very last sack that you saw where Andrew Doty got a sack, he came from this side. This is the alignment that we were in. We wanted to force the pressure from the outside, sending Mark Herbeck, our Sam linebacker, from one side, and then sending our Will linebacker, Andrew Doty, coming from the other side. Now, along with this, we can do a lot of stunts up front. In that particular blitz that you saw on the very last sack, we ran what we call a saber stunt, bringing these two guys inside and then bringing Andrew up on the outside. We also have the capabilities of keeping them in their gaps, bringing Andrew inside. We also could do some sort of game with these two, delay him, let it clear and go. But the key to the whole pressure was to get some outside pressure on their quarterback and don't let him scramble. Again, traditionally, we've been coming up the middle. With our Mike linebacker then, what we have him do is he covers the back man-to-man, and obviously none of this can happen if we don't have good coverage in the secondary. In this situation, we'll lock our corner up on the tight end, our free safety over the number 3 receiver, counting outside in, strong safety over number 2, and the touchdown they just scored on at the end of the half, we were in bump man coverage here, which is fine, but we gave it away too soon. The corner stepped up while the quarterback was walking to the line of scrimmage. He knows they're in man. They ran it out and up, which is an awful tough route to cover in bump man, and Frank came underneath. We turned it back here, and the quarterback threw the ball. So at times it can be very good pressure on the outside, at other times it can cause you a lot of trouble.
Okay, well, with that said, it's good to see with lots of seniors, guys like Herbeck back. Also good to see guys like Andrew Doty healthy and playing. Well, with that said, we'll go ahead and go into second half highlights.